Dad here from Zephyr Games, bringing you an update to Dark Magician Girl. Now this is a little bit different to the way that Dark Magicians plays. Is in my personal Dark Magician build, it is quite aggressive, but it also has the 1 or 2 defensive cards in there as well. And with this build, I've actually gone with a more control-focused Dark Magician Girl build, where we use more cards that are used to spam the board, extend the board, and protect the board as more unknown hand traps that our opponent doesn't know what they do. And then that can really catch them off guard, along with some very nice interactions between some of the cards within the deck and some new additions as well. This is without Magician's Soul. I will explain what you can put in if you own Magician's Souls, but like I said, in the past there is a massive difference between what is now a $100 card and a $5 card. So, you know, either or. With that said and done, please smash the like button, hit the notification bell, and subscribe so you do not miss out on anything. With that said and done, let's get into today's profile of Dark Magician Girl. Now, Dark Magician Girl, of course, I'm going to explain each card that we play as we go through it and why. So we start off with double Dark Magician Girl. Now the reason we've got 2 is because sadly it hasn't had as much main deck support as Dark Magician got. Now obviously Dark Magician got a lot of main deck support. He's got like Circle, he's got Navigation, he's got Eternal Soul. So if Dark Magician Girl could get some form of equivalent with that, it should definitely be worth playing. Now, the reason we play 2 is because you don't really want to play 1. It's not a Dark Magician Girl, you're only going to be playing one of them. It's more of a Dark Magician build if you're doing that. With 2, you've got enough to cycle her graveyard effects. By that, what I mean is you can actually bring her back, make rank 6 plays, use and abuse cards like Sage Stone, also use and abuse backup cards as well, like Kiwi Magician Girl as well. So 2 is more than enough. Sadly, it is her deck, but you still need to play Dark Magician at 3, purely for the exact same reasons that I just said. With stuff like Circle, Navigation, Eternal Soul, they're all centered around Dark Magician, so you have to play him at the max as well. He is a supporting member in this build, do not worry, but just to get the spells and traps, which is what you need most of, to kind of interact with your opponent the most, you have to max out on him. We then back that up with triple Magician's Rod. This searches you out pretty much 80% of all your spells and traps. There is probably 1 trap that it doesn't search out, and there is probably about 2 to 3 spells that it doesn't search out. Technically there should only be 2, but you know, Konami haven't arrived at Timaeus yet, and I'll keep reminding them until they do. So Rod is your main normal summon. This is the one you want to go to. I mean, Chocolate Magician Girl is great, but you kind of want her to be your second normal summon. Yes, she gives you more of a defensive play, but she's only worth summoning if you open up her and Rod. She's only worth summoning if you've already opened up Circle and a supporting card as well. Otherwise, even with opening up Circle, you still want to play Rod to get like a Navigation, Eternal Soul, or any kind of form of extension as well. So definitely maxing out on Magician's Rod. And then of course, speaking of the Girl of the Hour, double Chocolate Magician Girl. She is the best Magician Girl in my opinion, purely because she's got draw power and she has some form of better built-in protection to the others. Now, I was considering Berry, but then I was like, I don't want to waste my normal summon on a level 1 that is only going to search me out a Magician Girl. In a fun game where, you know, you're not going to be playing with higher level meta cards, maybe it's worth playing her, purely for the consistency factor, but nowadays, if you want to take this to a big event, which is what I've built this deck for, I took this for like I could take this to my locals and do well. I could take this to a regional and do okay. I'm not going to say I'm winning it, but because of the control factors in here, you're basically masking the Dark Magician Girl herself with the backup cards that this deck can bring. So Chocolate Magician Girl, in my opinion, is the best one. I would play it free, but like I said, I want my first normal summon to be Rod, so I want the consistency factor on that. I then want to back it up with Chocolate Magician Girl. Now you could also put in Mana, and you can also put in Mahard, because it works really, really nicely with Chocolate Magician Girl, because you drop that, and then you get to draw 1. And then it puts it in the graveyard ready for Magician's Soul or Soul Servant, because then Soul Servant lets you draw more. So it's like, okay, cool, I've drawn 1 for Chocolate, and then because I've put Mana or Mahard in there, I can actually put Mahard back to the top of the deck and then draw it, summon it, and draw 1 more because Dark Magician Girl or Dark Magician's in there as well. So it does give you a lot more consistency draw factor as well. We then got Double Apprentice. Now this is actually really, really important in the deck now, because you combine this with Kiwi, you actually have 2 very, very powerful attack boost hand traps. So not a lot of people actually remember what this card does, is that if another one of your spellcasters is attacked, you can send this from your hand or field to the graveyard, and that monster gains a 2k boost. So it actually allows you to protect your rod a little bit more. It also allows you to protect the other cards you don't want your opponent running into. Now, if your opponent is foolish enough to run into a chocolate while you've got a card engraved, you go, okay, cool, I'll take that, and then revive it. Other than that, if you don't have a card engraved or your Dark Magician girl gets attacked or anything like that, dropping an apprentice can be very, very powerful. It also works really, really nicely with Skill Drain, because you can play Skill Drain in the deck, and this and Kiwi, because they trigger in the hand and in the grave, you don't actually need to trigger about that on-field effect. Your opponent can be like, right, finally, I've got a 3k beat that can get past this vanilla Dark Magician, or this basically vanilla Dark Magician girl, and you go, okay, attack me and find out what happens. They attack you, you drop an apprentice, catches them off guard, or you drop a Kiwi, again, catches them off guard, and they go, oh yeah, I forgot it has that second effect. With that being said, Apprentice can also fill up the graveyard for your other card effects like Magical Eyes Fusion, and it also lets you search out Dark Magician, so it gives you a bit of consistency factor in that one. If it allowed you to search out Dark Magician Girl as well, then it would be better, because then you get your more consistency factor of her personal build. Then moving on to the other Magician Girl that we play, and that is of course Kiwi. So Kiwi, during your player's turn, you discard this card. Magician Girl monsters, if it was spellcasters, would have been so much better. You control, gain 300 attack and defense for each Magician Girl monster with a different name on the field and in the graveyard. So it's only ever really going to get Dark Magician Girl and Chocolate Magician Girl, and then of course Kiwi herself, until the end of the turn. Her on-field effect of spellcaster monsters you control can't be destroyed by card effect, and your opponent cannot target them on card effects is very, very good. But the issue is she's a level 5. If she was a level 4 that you could back up, better, so much better. But you have to kind of play extender cards to make her on-field effect more consistent and better and actually useful in the deck. So I had a hard time kind of... She's like the second best, purely because all the other ones like Apple, Lemon, and Berry, they all need to attack, like they need to be attacked. And they don't have their secondary effect of adding a Magician Girl, fine, but I'd rather have the draw off of Chocolate. Add a Magician Girl, send it from deck. If it's attack, special summon from deck. Like, I don't really want those effects because my opponent isn't going to do that. Like, unless my opponent does not read the cards and doesn't know how to play against the cards in general, they're not going to attack them. Unless they're like 100% sure, I'm going to get rid of that card in graveyard, or you're not going to be able to special summon or anything like that, they're not going to do it. So it's not worth playing that card to get that effect when I've got other replacements that I'd much rather do. Now that's my own personal opinion. If you're like, right, I want to play pure Dark Magician Girl, take out Dark Magician, take out Rod, and just go for it, by all means. It will be very, very good because the chain you can get, like Lemon, Apple, or Berry into one of them, and then Lemon, then Apple, then Chocolate. You can just flood the board with them and then keep reviving them, which is great. It's just such an anime effect, in my opinion. Like, my opponent is not going to do that. Which is why I've tried to build this to be competitive, which is why I'm saying use these as hand traps more so than actual on-field protection. And then finally, the last card I've main decked is Sorcerer of Dark Magic. Now, this is a golden oldie, and the reason I've put this in it is because of Eldritch. Eldritch are running around. So if I'm putting this on Duelbook and I want to face up against the main decks of Adamancipators and Eldritch, I want to be able to have a main deck out. Now, the second I put him on board, unless the opponent's got a Golden Lord in hand, they can't get rid of it. Now, yes, they might have a Golden Lord in hand, they might be able to search it, absolutely fine. But the idea is you drop this on your opponent, even going second. So if you go second, drop this on your opponent, you've got 3200 beat, which is going to be formidable against most of their monsters. But then they can't activate any of their traps because it's not a hard once per turn or a soft once per turn. So they activate, negate. They activate, negate. Now, you negate the activation and destroy them. So I'm not too sure because this is the older writer if it's effects or not. So give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to quickly say, because if it actually says effects, then it gives you another level of protection. So it was just something I saw, I put in. You don't have to play it. It is just a techie little boss monster that I thought would be really nice to put in. If you don't want to play him, you can easily put in Skill Drain. Like, that's the out and out choice. When a trap card is activated, so you negate it. So you can't negate the effect, but you can still just negate the activation of the trap. So they'll get all the end phase effects. But you don't really mind about that because the idea is you want to then control your opponent's board with the cards you have, build up, build up, build up, and then you're setting yourself up for a decent bout with a main meta deck, basically. So that's it for the monster lineup. Like I said, this one's probably the only questionable one that I say that if you want to keep it competitively, you could take this out. But it's quite nice to have this kind of nostalgia card in there, especially with the meta coming up. So if you're going to face a lot more control decks, he comes in. If you're not, you take him out for Skill Drain. Easy as that. And then of course the Souls replacement that I already showed off in my Dark Magician deck of Fusion Deployment. So this one actually lets you get Dark Magician Girl from the deck as well. So it allows you to, if you've either opened up a Sage Stone or Bond Between, you can actually play around with both those cards and then extend your board a little bit more. And then if you get into an Itemize, or if you get into like Dark Magics that lets you fusion, you've got a lot of play that way. If you want to and want to make this searchable, you do play Dragon Keeper of Magic. The issue with that is it then takes away another monster from a Dark Magician Girl build or a Dark Magician build. So you have to balance it out nicely. Triple Dark Magical Circle, Triple Soul Servant, both of those are quite straightforward and simple on that one. Double Dark Magic Veil, purely because I actually play a couple of rank 6s in here that help me control my opponent a lot more. And not to mention, being able to pay 1,000 to Monster Reborn any of my monsters, or bring them out of my hand, gives you another way of getting into Kiwi to give you non-target protection. It gives you a way of bringing back Dark Magician. It kind of replaces a Souls in a sense. This comboing off with Fusion Deployment allows you to get the special summon twice. Souls, of course, it's worth $100 for a reason. It's not worth $100 because of what it does in a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl deck. It's what it does in meta-relevant decks. So that's the shameful side of it. If it was a $5 card, put it in. Easy, hands down. Even at $50, it's worth getting and putting in. But $100 when you've got a cheaper alternative for a deck that you're going to be playing fun, you want to make it competitive, by all means you can do. It's not worth dumping that amount of money onto a card that is either going to get banned or it's going to cause all those engines to get banned. It's going to become cheaper in the future anyway. So that's just my personal opinions on it. I then got Double Itemize, straightforward on this one. Not only 9 out of 10, you actually want it to make your Dark Magician monsters that aren't, so like your Paladin. But it can obviously help you get, I think, 5 out of 6 fusion monsters in your extra deck. So, you know, you have to play it too. I think 3, you could do it as well, especially with Fusion Deployment, because you've got that consistency factor of getting the material out of your deck that you need. The issue is you don't really have a huge amount of back row that you want to protect with your Dark Dragon Knight. So you actually mainly want to go into your Dark Magician Girl Dragon Knight because the disruption pop is actually a lot more effective. So you combo that off with a circle, being able to bring back a Dark Magician. You get 2 forms of disruption, which is really, really good. And then you back it up with the other card we play in the deck as well. It gives you 3 forms of disruption to your opponent, not to mention the hand traps you then have in hand for later on. Then we play a lot of one-offs. The one Monster Reborn, the one Dark Burning Magic. Whether you hard search this, but 9 out of 10 you really want to be bringing it out of with your bond between teacher and student. And then we back bond between teacher and student, which can be at 2 if you want to, with a Sage Stone, purely because if you do have the way of getting Dark Magician Girl out, but not Dark Magician, you've got Sage Stone to get your Dark Magician. So it just allows you to bring out your main boss monster onto the board. Bonds is really, really good. You would have to double up Burning Magic, which can be done. Easily take out stones. The issue is because this is so specific and it needs both of them on board, you have to be able to trigger this first, which is fine because with it, like, you've got a lot of protection in here. You've got Dark Burning Magic. If you get your Dark Magician Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight out, you've got another form of interruption. If you've got a way of bringing back Dark Magician with a circle, you've got another form of interruption. You then combo that off with Magician's Combination that we play, you've got another form of disruption. So you can actually really, really control your opponent, which is what this deck is all about. The one Magical Ice Fusion, send this off of Verti Anaconda, easily get 5 spellcasters in the graveyard now. We do play Reasoning as well, purely because we're actually playing everything from level 3 all the way up to 7. So you've got 3s in Rod, you've got 4 in Chocolate, you've got 5 in Kiwi, you've got 6 in Dark Magician Girl and Apprentice, and then you've got 7 in Dark Magician. So this technically does act like a very, very good free summon. And if you were to put in like Berry as well, you get another extension. The only issue with Berry is it has to be normal summon, so it's like, what a loss on that kind of effect. Secrets of Dark Magic, you can actually make both Dark Magician the Dragon Knight and Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight with this because you can turn Dark Magician into Unduct, and then if you'd rather go for this than your Dragon Knight, then you just play this, use Unduct and a Dark Magician Girl, and you make this. So, nice and easy on that one. Dark Magic Inheritance, as you saw, we play a lot of spells we don't mind being banished, so being able to trigger this and getting more out is very, very useful. And then for the traps, triple Crackdown. You know, we want to control our opponent, and we do play Sheridan in the extra deck, and I absolutely love Sheridan in a deck like this. So Sheridan allows you to use your opponent's monster as long as it's got a level as a level 6 to make the rank 6 Ceridon. So all you need to do is you combo this off with either an Apprentice, which is a free special summon, or you combo it off with a Dark Magician Girl. You got an instant rank 6 that's going to start stealing your opponent's monsters, which is great. The one card we are missing for this deck, and I'm sorry for it, is Magi Girl. I mean, like, if Konami could sort that out, we could actually have a very, very good rank 6. And because it requires 2 level 6 spellcasters, wouldn't even care if it says, like, 2 level 6 spellcasters that include Dark Magician in its name. I'll be like, fine. If I have to make it with Apprentice and Dark Magician Girl, I will. Because then it stops Pendulum players abusing the crap out of it as well. And it's like, don't mind. But I don't think it's ever going to happen, sadly. Sad days. Double Eternal Soul, 2 is more than enough in this build. If you were playing like full-on Dark Magician and you played Mana Dragon as well, I'd go all out and play it free. But 2 is enough. You control the board. It is another form of negation when you combo this off with Circle. But what you've got to remember is your opponent is going to target the hell out of this card. The second you play this card, your opponent has found your Achilles heel and your opponent is going, I'm getting rid of that card with everything I've got. So you have to protect it or have a follow-up play. And then finally, the Magician's combination, a lot more consistent with 2 Dark Magician Girls. You have increased your brick factor as well, by the way. But being able to loop this around is very, very good. The only weakness is the second your opponent called by the Graves or DD Crows, your Dark Magician or your Dark Magician Girl, this falters. Because it has to have both. It has to do both effects, which is such a shame. If it is tribute a Dark Magician and then you can, beautiful, beautiful. Broken is what the Dark Magician deck would have need. But because it's like tribute one and then special summon the other, you have to be able to do both in order to get the full effect off. So it's like if you want to negate, you have to summon. And if you can't summon, you can't negate. And it's just like, no, give me a broken Dark Magician card that can make the deck meta. Not every other deck out there meta, this deck meta. Anyway, that's it for the Dark Magician main deck build. Like I said, it's a lot more control based than the Dark Magician deck. And like I said, there's plenty of reasons for that. It is what it is, unfortunately. That's kind of just the way that Dark Magicians want to roll and Dark Magician Girl wants to roll. Is you have to find the right balance. If you want to go pure Dark Magician Girl build, by all means you can do. I actually quite liked Legion the Fiend Jester, just because it allowed me to get Dark Magician Girl out turn 1. And then I could minimise my capabilities of Dark Magician. But just being able to trigger Soul and Eternal Soul just gives you too much to go with. Moving on to the extra deck, we'll start off with the fusions. You got the one Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight. Like I said, this is your go-to disruption card. Because you haven't got a lot that you want to protect unless you've got Eternal Soul. Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight is your backup play to that. And so is Dark Paladin. When your opponent wants to abuse a living cack out of spells, Dark Paladin is the go-to guy, and having the ability to do it, you can do nice and easily. Backing these 3 fusion monsters up, we do have 2 of the Dark Magicians. Draw factor, set factor, activate factor. Nice. And then the quintet. So, like we said, we've got so many spellcasters. Someone actually suggested Future Fusion to me, and I was like, look, I love the card. If the card wasn't errated, fine. But the issue is, it's the next standby phase after you activate it. So, it has to stay alive for 3 turns for you to be able to get something out of it. So you activate it, that's 1 turn that it has to stay alive. It then has to survive during your opponent's turn. It then has to come back to your standby phase without them ashing it or destroying it. Just to send to the graveyard. It then needs to survive that turn and then survive your opponent's turn and then survive your starting turn for you to get the fusion out of it. Very, very good, and I see why people why you could consider it, but because of that one errata, understandably, because it was made for other decks, it really, really slows the deck down, sadly. Then for the link monsters, we've got the one at BLS Soldier of Chaos. This is your boss monster, extra deck monster. Put in any kind of link 3, 4 monster in here. That's all you really need. It's just because you can abuse it off a Dark Magician and make it non-target destruction. Predaplant, Vertet, Anaconda, of course we've all talked about this. You send the Magical Ice Fusion, you've stacked up your graveyard, and then comes out your quintet and you've got a massive towers ready to go. IP to lead into your BLS. You can put Unicorn if you want, but the idea is that you link into your BLS. So you bring back your Dark Magician, or you already leave a Dark Magician on board. Use IP plus Dark Magician plus 1 more. Makes BLS untargetable, undestructible. He is your go-to boss monster. The one Induct, already explained this one. So you get Dark Magician into him, which means you can loop him with Eternal Soul. But then it also means because you've got a dragon on board, you could hard summon using this and a Dark Magician Girl to get in the Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight. And then because we're not flooding the board with rank 7s, we're going with the 1 Ibon and the 1 Red Ice Flare. One thing to mention is Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, is in fact a level 7, so you can use her as XYZ material as well. And then finally for the rank 6s, we've got the Naruto, the Moral Leader, standard. Number 24, Dragulus Vampiric Dragon. Love this card. Beautiful card. 2 level 6, once per turn during either player's turn, detach 1 XEs from this card. Target 1 face-up monster that was on the field that was special summoned from the extra deck. Change it to face-down defense position. If this face-up card in its owner's control is sent to your graveyard or banished by your opponent's card effect, special summon it in face-down defense position. If this card is flipped face-up, send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. Like, it's beautiful. Especially going into Martial 5 where so many more people are going to be special summoning random monsters from the extra deck. This card can actually be very, very useful. And it just looks awesome. So, I love it. And then Zanthir Vampire Shadowrun. This card is insane. Like I said, you get to steal your opponent's monster. So if you use Crackdown, you can use that monster with one of your level 6 to make him. And then he can start destroying cards, stealing cards. He's a nice little control boss monster, which is exactly what you want for this type of deck as well. So you can just see the synergy and how it works together. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for the Dark Magician Girl deck build. I hope you like this. I hope this gave you a couple of ideas on your own Dark Magician Girl version. Like I said, there's a couple of different routes you can go with this deck. Make it pure if you want to. If you play any particular techs, please let me know in the comments down below. It'd be more than awesome to check those out and see what you guys play as well. And how you kind of use and abuse the Dark Magician Girl engine or the Dark Magician Girl deck as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. And until next time, guys, as always, happy dueling. So guys, before we get started, don't forget we do have that amazing discount code thanks to Tier 0 Games going on right now. And all you have to do is put in ZWGames5 to get 5% discount on your total order at tier0games.com. The links will be in the description below.